Hello fish fools, Jeff here. So here's my 6-foot 84-gallon aquarium, and after a lot of waiting I've finally begun setting it up. So the first step is laying down the foundation, adding the substrate. So here, this is just the filler substrate. There's 4 20-pound bags, and it's all just as it is. I mean, it looks pretty good. I could probably just end it on that, but this is just the filler. The good stuff is going on top, or at least what I think will be the good stuff. The Aztec bronze substrate, I have 4 more 20-pound bags of that to go on top. Will probably end up being the deepest substrate of any aquarium that I've ever had. But even this, so this is the filler. You can kind of notice it's a little, doesn't match, it's a little different here, like this is a little exposed. But there's 4 bags, 3 different types. So I use one 20 pounds underneath here, another 20 pounds right here, and then 2 20 pounds, 40 pounds kind of going over the top, and it looks like I missed it there, but that doesn't really matter because the other stuff, I got another 80 pounds to go on top of that, and that's what's going to be exposed, and hopefully I expect it will look good, the Aztec bronze. So this is the first step, and then we'll catch up when I add the next layer of substrate. Stand by. Alright, so I just put in the Aztec bronze. I think that looks pretty good. So that's just 1 bag. So 1 of 4. So yeah, that looks good. What do you think, creature? Does that look good? Alright, on to the other 3 bags. Alright, that's all the substrate, so this is complete. So I ended up having 1 20-pound bag of the Aztec bronze left over. I think this is enough like this. I mean, just to look how deep that's going to be. And so altogether, that's 140 pounds of substrate. All right, and next is the hardscape. So I'm going to gather up the Oko stone. All right, so here's the dragon stone, Oko stone. I'm not sure if I'm going to be using all of this, and this is likely to be rearranged. But just to look at it, because I still need to gather up the mopani wood, and then after that I have to consider room for plants. But I set up one of the Phoenix Stingray 2 LED lights on one side. They have one for each side. So I think this is going to stay as it is, because I'll have a sponge filter that will block the sponge filter. This big piece I've had for almost 4 years, and it was too big for any of my other tanks, but now I finally get to put it to use. And rearrange these. My first thought is this one probably will not make the cut because of the cuts. So like it's flat and sawed off on each side. I don't like it like that. It doesn't look natural, and I don't think I'd have room for all of it anyway. But just, like I've mentioned with mopani wood so many times, like a sawed-off piece of mopani wood, I don't like those. I mean, if they're going to be a sawed-off piece, I don't want it to be exposed. But if they, like this, how it's opposite ends, I mean, if I stick one end down, the other end is going to be exposed, unless I put something along the sides. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to be using that. But yeah, here we go. We're coming along. So that's got all the Oko stone. I'll do some rearranging. I'm going to gather up the mopani wood and then see how much room I have and how that's going to look. So stand by. Alright, so I gathered up some of the mopani wood that I figure I'm going to be using, and I did discard a couple pieces of dragonstone already, but just as it is, this looks a bit clustered. Even being a 6-foot tank, I feel like I need an 8-foot or a 10-foot tank. So I did add the other Phoenix Stingray too, so altogether 6 feet across. We'll see when it has water in it how bright that's going to be. But I do need to figure out some rearranging here, because I am going to have some corydoras in here. I want to have like one sort of open area. I was kind of thinking right here, because I do need to be a little strategic with the placement, because the top of the tank here has this glass panel, so it's going to be, just have to consider, it's going to be hard to reach under there, so it'd be best to not put too much there, or at least not have plants there. And for filtration, I'm going to have the 2 sponge filters in the corner. So I already mentioned it'd be perfect to put one right behind here, hidden, and then the opposite corner. But then I'll have the 2 AquaClear 50 hang-on back filters that'll pretty much go like right here and here. So as those come out, that's where the flow is going to be, and then it'll kind of mix. And like this mopani wood, that's pretty much going to stay in the back like that. I'm not sure what to do about this one. I remember when I saw it at Petco and I bought it, I thought it was a cool looking piece. I still do, but I'm torn if I should have it up like this, or even like on its side, or this way if it was kind of like that. Would look kind of cool. But then I kind of like the idea of this being sort of like a cave. So I can cover up the side ends and then maybe put like a flat piece of or something to cover the back. So when I do get kribensis or maybe even a pistograms, like some type of dwarf cichlid, where they would use a cave to lay their eggs and guard their eggs, I think that would be something like that would be perfect. I mean, that doesn't look good that big, but maybe I don't know. I will figure something out. But yeah, so I'm going to try to do some rearranging and see how I can do this. I figure this piece kind of slots in right there. And the boot by itself looks pretty awesome. The shoe, this mopani wood piece that looks like a shoe. Alone looks kind of cool, but then I don't know. Alright, well, I'm going to do some rearranging and see what I can come up with. Stand by. Alright. That's it. This is it. I think I got it. I think this is how it's going to be. So sponge filter in the back left corner. And this is it prior to the plants, so I do still need to figure out how those go, but I like doing it that way where it's just kind of random. Just put them in as I go because it is going to be gradual. But yeah, so try doing that, and you can see I kind of raised some of the gravel in the back, so I'm still going to work on that some. So one thing I'm going to try to do, got some of these flat rocks here. I'm going to try to like wedge these in. It'll be hidden, so it won't, just these will be just kind of not really go with everything else, but if it's hidden in there in the back, I think that's what I'm going to do, so I'm going to try to work on that. But yeah, I think that's it. So I only discarded 2 pieces of dragonstone and 1 piece of mopani wood. So this one right here. So maybe I'll end up putting this and this 5.5 gallon that is the mopani wood, mopani madness tank is what that's going to be. Yeah, alright, I'm going to try to get those flat rocks and try to make a cave out of that mopani wood piece. Alright, did some slight arrangements, and then there's green in there. There's life. There's some plants. So I'm about to add some water. I am running out of time here, so I do have the sponge filter in the back there, so I think I'm going to just maybe at least fill it up to the top of the sponge filter and then continue later. But yeah, so we have, so what I may have adjusted before, so I did, if we can see, but there is some flat rocks inside to kind of create a back wall, and I think I have it so there's no like loose open space, so it's entirely enclosed, but I think it looks good like that. And one little thing, I added this small piece. That was one of the tiny pieces that I got from petproducts.com for the 5.5 gallon tank. And these are the bacopa stems. Those are what I got today at Petco when I got the substrate. And this is Sturgeon repens. So that has been in the pot in my quarantine tank. So I just took that out of the pot and put a couple of root tabs in here. And then here's a stem of bacopa. So it's kind of like how I like to do it. Like I'll put most of them together, and then I'll put, maybe a rogue stem or a couple of rogue stems like far apart from it. And that is a piece of Java fern windalev. There's a little hole in the mopani wood right there. I kind of shoved one piece in there to hopefully it'll just stay in place, and then eventually the roots will cling to it. So yeah, and then we have some cryptocorn undulata, main piece right here, and a secondary piece here, and then a tiny little piece right there. So I put a couple of root tabs under this, or I think I put one here and one here, and left that. See how that'll do without one. And there's the bamboo plant that I got today. I just put in here for now for the hell of it. Maybe I'll fill up, as high as the water will be, as high as the sponge filter, so that should be enough at the bottom. Like if this whole thing was underwater, it would rot, but just to have the roots wet and the rest hang out. But the plan is to put that in the top of the hang-on back filter and just have it immersed grown. But I don't think I'm going to get to the point of setting up the hang-on back filters yet. That may wait until tomorrow. But yeah, so first life of plants, and strong possibility of there being some snails. So whatever might be on the sponge filter when I brought it over. Alright, so now I'm just gonna start filling it with water, and then we'll take a look at it with some of the plants and stuff underwater. So stand by. So I just put in about 3 gallons so far, and that's barely enough to saturate the whole substrate. Barely see there's enough coming up. That's about like here. But yeah, just the scale of this compared to my other tanks. Like when I fill up a 10 gallons, 3 gallons is a lot, but this, it barely puts a dent in it. Yeah, alright, I'm going to continue. Stand by. Alright, the first animal life added to the 84-gallon 6-foot aquarium is this bladder snail. Otherwise, as I mentioned, there's probably some snails already on that sponge filter, but this is one that would have come off it because I wrung out the sponge filter into the bucket that I'm using. So there you go. As there's 5 gallons in the tank now. All right. Wherever it is, I just somewhere there. Yeah, bladder snail. All right. More water. All right, that's about 25 gallons maybe. So that's enough to submerge the sponge filter and get some bubble action happening. And the water is a bit cloudy, but that will settle. When I do set up when I fill it up all the way and I set up the hang-on back filters, I am going to leave the carbon in them at least for a little while to kind of clear up whatever cloudiness, and as they anticipate tannins to be noticeable, which I kind of want to some degree. Alright, so we got the bamboo plant just submerged, the roots underneath, the cryptocorin undulata, another piece of cryptocorin undulata, a cope stem, gemifern windlev, sturgeon repens, and some more bacopa stems. Alright, so that's going to be it for now, for tonight. I'm going to continue filling the rest of the water later, but before I do that, I'm going to add some more plants. I have the Crinum calamastratum in a pot in my 40 gallons, so that I'm going to bring over here. So before I fill it up all the way, I'll get that in here and some other plants, and then shortly after that, I'll add a fish, and then more fish. I gotta at least by the time I get my online fish order, when that arrives, which will be this week, maybe as soon as Wednesday, maybe Thursday or Friday. But I have to get the fish out of quarantine. So here's a quarantine tank here. So the scissortail rasboras and the roseline sharks and the rummy nose tetras, well, there's 2 in here, and the brilliant rasbora. Those are going to be going into the 84-gallon. And the white clouds will be going in the 5.5-gallon when I get that set up. So yeah, I have to do that too. And, oh yeah, the pearl gourami. And this sponge filter is going to be going in. So I will, when I add more water, I'll be doing that. Alright, one last look at it. I think it's set up pretty well. I like it. And as add plants and plants grow and fill in and get some fish in here, it is going to be looking awesome. So, plans for fish, as I just pointed out, the scissortail rasboras, the roseline sharks, the pearl gourami, brilliant rasboras, rummy nose tetras, sterbai corydoras, that's on my order. That is going to be arriving this week. I also want to get Odessa barbs and kribensis, and that again is why I put that cave together. Alright, well yeah, so it's finally set up. Not complete yet, but this is finally substrate, hardscape, and plants and water. Alright, well, follow along, subscribe, and to see what's going to follow along as this tank develops and evolves. Alright, well that's it for now, and remember, I'm Jeff, and I enjoy fishies. Thanks for watching.